I'm not sure how many of you ever watched Postman Pat, but I can tell you that I used to be quite of a fan of the show when I was little. Growing older though, I soon moved on to more exciting things. But, try as I might, I still have a soft spot for the show, even in my adult years. Postman Pat doesn't really air often, well, if not at all, these days where I am. So, what little remains of the series now is on sites like YouTube. However, one day I was browsing for YouTube and decided to take a look at some of these Postman Pat episodes. Well, only for the nostalgia value, at least. To my surprise, one of the featured videos was one titled Return to Sender, showing a bad quality black and white picture of what seemed to be Postman Pat and Jess the cat. Oh, cool. A Postman Pat lost episode tape, I thought to myself, knowing about the craze and deciding to check it out. I knew very well that these were hoaxes and not too many creeped me out. Well, nevertheless, I looked forward to seeing what some demented soul had done to my Postman Pat. To my surprise, when I clicked on the video, I noticed a abnormally long timer, 12 hours to be precise. This was pretty unusual, but totally not unheard for most TV shows. For some lost episode hoax tape, however, such a long timer was almost unheard of. There was no way I was gonna sit through the entire 12 hours. I decided to watch as much as I could before I moved on. The video began with a bad quality black and white intro to the show. The cheery music, of course, was playing, surprise surprise, in reverse. Well, other than that, the intro remained the same, and soon cut to the beginning of the quote-unquote episode. The video showed Pat standing outside of a house with Jess sitting in the basket nearby, the bad quality still apparent. Pat held a parasol in his hand, and there was nothing but silence for a good few minutes, as Pat stared lifelessly at the parasol. And just like that, I was quickly growing bored of this. I clicked on another video which played as normal, and I began to dismiss Return to Sender as a really bad trolling attempt by some bored idiot, having seen a few in my time. Then things started to get weird. The video I was watching suddenly broke into static, and then changed to a picture of Pat staring at the parasol in silence. The timer once again changing to 12 hours. I was completely awestruck. This was impossible. Not even a virus could explain something like that. I quickly closed the window entirely, not wishing to continue any further. However, the window soon popped back up, and I found my mouse unable to work. Even using my keyboard did nothing. As the screen showed Pat staring at the parasol again, the 12-hour timer still counted down. I tried to switch my laptop manually off at this point, but the bottom just didn't work. It was then that image finally started to change as the video zoomed on the parasol. The quality was still very bad, but I could see a label on the parasol stamped Return to Sender. The video just remained focused on that parasol as I heard the sound of weeping growing louder and louder. The parasol dropped to the ground in slow motion as the sound of a cat hissing, then crying in pain was heard in the background. The video kept focusing on the parasol laying on the ground as images began to flash and off the screen. Pictures of mutilated cats, real and in color. Each image only staying on screen for a few seconds before disappearing. After a while, this stopped, and the video switched back to Pat, who was still standing in place staring at the parasol, which had somehow appeared back in his hand. I noticed both the basket and Jess were now missing from the scene entirely. Pat opened the parasol and broke down on the spot, falling to his knees as he covered his face and wept horribly, the parasol falling once again to the ground. A small, fuzzy paw poked out from inside. It was lifeless. The video then ended on the spot, turning to black. The 12-hour timer still going as my laptop finally switched itself off. To this day, I'm not sure what happened or what the video was about. In truth, I don't really think I want to anyway. If you should see such a video on YouTube or any other site for that matter, I recommend just to let it be. It's not worth it. You know what they say, right? Curiosity killed the cat.